Hello friends, welcome back for Ethereum technical analysis. What have we got on the go? Well, lo and behold, we're still inside the symmetrical triangle. Not much of a shock there, to be honest with you. Oh, I forgot to look at the oscillators on the Bitcoin pricing. Let me just have a quick dive over back. Sorry, just stick with me here. I know you tuned in for Ethereum. Just wanted to see what we've got on the go here. This was moved above 20 on the ADX here, I suppose, but then at the same time dripping down there. Okay, so yeah, the beat goes on basically over there as we kind of knew it would do. Really, this is how we're looking at things just now. You know, are we going to break out of this fallen wedge here as part of the rising wedge type chat or not? Same thing applies over here on the Ethereum Bob's coins. Now, I say same thing, but of course, as you can see here, there's this sort of ascending triangle. Are we breaking out of it? We've had this on the charts for quite a while. Let's just bring this up and take a look. Now, I think it's a little bit unfair to say so, especially when the anchor point of these things, because it's lagging, is always kind of up slightly behind, you know, overall. But there is a question mark to be had here. Will we potentially be breaking out of this? So when you get it full screen, it doesn't look like an ascending triangle anymore. It looks instead more like a rising wedge. Go back out to here, and then it kind of looks a little bit like an ascending triangle. But you know the reality of it is that it's more of a rising wedge type thing. So the sort of negative pattern here in the stochastics over here on the RSI. Then, as you can see, I've changed the colors of these just to make it a little bit more visible and fresh. I wanted to go for a sort of calypso lime flavor. So yeah, are we experiencing something here along the lines of, you know, inverse head and shoulder type action on the RSI during this upward price action here? You know, there's possibilities like that out there, but I'm not really so keen on that quite now until, you know, we just sort of see the price action speak for itself in the meantime. So just going back over here, well, actually, you know, we can look at certain things like the lower high aspects of this. Let's just do that real quick, because what we have here is a higher high, a high, you know, high over there, and you can see on the 4-hour time frame that that's operating without the divergence on the RSI. On the stochastics, it's divergent. On the DMI, it's divergent as well. So the RSI itself saying maybe it isn't, but you know we've got sort of sloppiness all over here on the charts with volatility, and ultimately we're in a sort of consolidation type framework anyhow. So really at the minute, just currently looking towards this one and still asking the same questions that we have done for the last wee while. Breakouts to either side are completely possible. There's the 2-for-1 scenario if you did break out from here and it led to a breakout as well of this sort of channel and all of that, then breaking up above, you know, previous areas of highs and going on up and up and up and up and up. Then there's options there. I think I put that in speculatively just there, so I'm going to move it out of the way so it doesn't distract viewers who are just coming here today for the first time. If you are, by the way, hit that like and subscribe button because we do this content every single day. So yeah, at the minute, of course, you know, things are consolidating at the minute, so of course we're kind of hamstrung in terms of what we can talk about by that. Here's a sort of the most generous type aspect of this symmetrical triangle. Sticking it on here takes you up to this area where you have the sort of cross down of these white lines. Now, what's this white line here? Maybe I should make it a different color so it sort of stands out a bit more. I'll go for that exciting calypso green that I'm talking about, and look at it and just remind you that that's the weekly trend. So we have a weekly trend downward line here, as you can see on the weekly chart. Wow. Going back to the 24-hour chart and saying, right, you know, so there's a few areas in around here where you can see that there'd be significant profit taking, of course, and potential resistance, of course, breaking on beyond them, establishing the price up above it. You know, if it does have to go up and then retest it, then come up again thereafter, and maybe you'd see a sort of the channel type chat and taking you on up to these higher targets, and potentially that's your route towards the $300 target. Of course, there's areas in between that I'd be very much aware of, like this green line here, 276, just purely saying, like, you know, this could easily come in here overall and form part of a sort of effective lower high, you know, if it were to wick back down again in terms of the weekly and whatever. And this is our previous area of sort of supply and demand overall in this area here. This is where we're going to find significant profit taking targets, of course, you know. And if we want to go up and start making higher highs really and undo this downward trend, if we look out to the bigger picture, we can see there's this downward trend of high, low, high, lower, low, you know, this is the lower high. Then, you know, at the minute, what we're doing, we could potentially just end up putting in a lower high, in which which case the prices could get quite bearish again. And if not, then we could be putting in a higher high. But we're in this sort of flux at the minute when no one's really quite willing to push the button on it just yet, either direction. And that's what we're looking out for really overall. Where we see the 21 EMA coming in at, which is where I would expect volatility towards the downside, and part of any sort of fake out sort of movements from this thing could go down to the 21 EMA over the next couple of days, and that's in the sort of 230 area. But of course, you know, the measured move off the back of this thing comes in around about the sort of the 220 area, if you're wanting to look at that. And of course, then breaking down below there on this one takes you down towards the 180, the 200 simple moving average here in the daily, for instance, actually would be the best sort of quick summary for that one. The volume continues to drop off overall, as we've seen, you know, which is what we would expect. There's volatility inbound. Looking at these oscillators, you can see that there's various factors to be aware of. I had the colors wrong on these before, so I might have said something that was maybe stood as being wrong on these recently, so I would apologize for that. When looking at the DMI, I've been talking about the volatility, never mind that anyway, because it has been real for various factors, not just this one. But we're looking and seeing that this ADX line was actually above 20 for a wee while there, and is now sloping down below it, sort of tapering off after this sort of movement upwards that we had from the mid to late May, then up towards where the current prices are here in June. So we've got this sort of sloping down the way, and the positive remains above the negative, but only just. You know, we could see these things wrap around each other fairly easily in the near future. That wouldn't be too much of a shock really overall. And then we can see as well that we've got this, are we asking the question just now, are we breaking out from this wedge here, in which case, you know, you could see this coming back down towards the middle line here at the 50s. That would still be sort of trending towards the upside, you could say, in terms of low, high, higher low, higher high, and then another higher low coming in here. But then that would give you volatility in around these lower targets for us if we were to go down the way. So there's definitely questions to be asked either side of things. Overall, the safest way to play this is to wait until we've gone past the sort of fake out territories on either of these things and looking towards the upside. You know, you've got easy fake out territory up to the 260 area and easy fake out territory on the downside towards the 230 area, and we'll keep an eye out on the 21 EMA on that front. On the 4-hour time frame and such, you can see that we're below the 21 EMA just now, or are we? No, we're just above it, being supported by it. On the 12-hour time frame, you can see the 21 EMA comes down towards the bottom of this box here. But, you know, these things I think are just as an easy sort of lookout. Then that's what we'll say. We'll keep our eye on for that. And I'll give my wee frog thing something to say there as well. Hey pal, I'll get the wee frog saying hey pal. And then that's it. So yes, I'm going to wrap up today's episode there. That's going to do for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if there's something specific that you want to look at, because we've been covering all of this information in the meantime. Of course, things like this head and shoulders here, which, you know, it doesn't really matter. The psychology, like I've been saying, behind this still really kind of comes into play if you look at breaking down below any sort of neckline on this sort of thing here, really in general. But that's all really doesn't really matter too much. It was just a conversation about the head and shoulders as a psychological thing and as a way of being sort of more succinct about the language in terms of talking about various horizontal levels, as opposed to the really, you know, putting much weight on the pattern itself. And you can see then that since then, you know, we've just been trending towards the upside and getting these higher highs in on this, you know, this is the 12-hour time frame. On the RSI, you can see that we're sort of bearishly divergent ever so slightly between the last two highs. On the stochastics, you can see that we're, you know, if you were to look at the last two, there's just these two here that we're not really. And the DMI positive is still sort of okay shaping on that front, but you can see that dynamic emerging here as we're consolidating. Who knows which way the price will go, you know, overall. So just be aware of that. So yeah, thanks very much for tuning in. Let me know what you think and all the rest of it, and catch you in the next episode. I've been Rocky Outcrop. Share this video with a friend. I really do appreciate everybody who stayed viewing until now. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I'll catch you next time.